The Batman brings audiences a new, terrifying version of the Riddler to the screen, while also offering new twists on an old favorite like the Penguin and Catwoman. But which characters should show up for the sequel? Watch to the end of the video to see if your pick made the list. Bruce Wayne's side job as a costumed vigilante doesn't leave him with much time to run the massive empire that is Wayne Enterprises. Instead, Lucius Fox is often depicted handling these duties as CEO of the company. In the Batman mythos, Lucius Fox is one of the few people that knows Batman's secret identity as Bruce Wayne, knowledge he puts to good use by helping Batman stay equipped with the latest and most efficient technology. Many of the gadgets and hardware that Batman employs in the field are sourced by Lucius Fox. The character received his live-action debut in Christopher Nolan's trilogy of Batman films, in which he was portrayed by the legendary Morgan Freeman. In The Batman, it's clear that Bruce has his operation figured out without Fox, but he's still rather young and can certainly use allies in his crusade. Much of his hardware, while effective, could use upgrades or replacements. Introducing Lucius Fox would narratively solve that issue as Bruce advances in his career as the Dark Knight. Batman has enjoyed an enduring and ever-expanding mythos over the length of his career since making his debut in 1939, with the writers and illustrators at DC Comics continually expanding the character's crew of heroes and villains. While the Joker, Riddler, Penguin, and Two-Face are some of Batman's most popular adversaries, forging a new path forward for the Dark Knight might require bringing some prominent yet previously unused characters into the live-action arena. The Court of Owls is a more recent addition to the list, courtesy of writer Scott Snyder and artist Greg Capullo. The shadowy Illuminati-like group made its debut in September of 2011 with the first issue of Batman to hit the shelves after DC's New 52 rebrand was launched. The court sways the future of Gotham through its assassins, the Talons, the most formidable of which is William Cobb. Immortal due to the use of a mysterious substance supplied by the courts called Electrum, William tests Batman's mettle and even enlightens him, revealing a sinister history behind the city he's sworn to protect. At one point, William is even revealed to be Dick Grayson's great-grandfather. Two-Face is one of Batman's most classic foes. Obsessed with the number 2 because of his scarred face and fractured identity, as far as he's concerned, it's often best to let the universe decide the answers to life or death questions, with a simple 50-50 chance at the flip of a coin. In the comics, cartoons, and in the movies, he was once Harvey Dent, a district attorney and an ally to all that was good and just in Gotham. After the mob disfigured him, his psyche shattered. His dark side took root and became one of the city's most feared gangsters. Two-Face has appeared in multiple live-action films. He was portrayed by Tommy Lee Jones in Batman Forever with a much campier portrayal of a deeply twisted individual. Pre-Two-Face era Harvey Dent even made an appearance in 1989's Batman, played by Billy D. Williams. The Dark Knight entwined Dent's destiny with that of the Joker's in 2008. His downfall and rebirth as Two-Face were all part of the Joker's anarchist plot to tear the city down. All along, Two-Face has never had the opportunity to reign supreme as the sole bad guy in his own live-action Batman film. If Matt Reeves took control of his story, there's no telling what madness this villain could cook up on screen. If the powers that be decide to continue the noir-style theme for the second adventure of Pattinson's Batman, Professor Pig would have a darkly sinister appeal. The character was created by writer Grant Morrison and officially became a member of Batman's Rogues Gallery in 2009's Batman and Robin #1. Professor Pig is a mad scientist with schizophrenia who wears a horrific pig mask. In his madness, he captures victims who he mutilates in the name of perfection. They are transformed into brainwashed minions known as Dolatrons. While he is a conniving mastermind, he transcends standard criminality in pursuit of his bloody, twisted vision of society. Professor Pig has no superpowers, only his creepy appearance and skill with overpowering the mind and forcing his disfigured victims to do his bidding. The character's high-functioning Leatherface vibes may be a bit much for the PG-13 crowd, though. Jervis Tetch is yet another mad scientist, one who recreates himself in the image of the Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland. He even associates with 2 rotund thugs known as Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Tetch has developed technology that allows him to control people's minds through manipulation of brainwaves and a fictional level of neuroscience we couldn't possibly comprehend. He often places hats or cards with tiny devices on the heads of his victims in order to take control. Mad Hatter is actually a creation of one of Batman's co-creators, Bill Finger. He's even made live-action appearances on the small screen from time to time, including an appearance in the 1960s Batman series and Fox's pre-Batman Gotham series. Despite his lengthy history, he's not one of the more well-known figures in Batman's coterie of supervillains. He could easily put Pattinson's Batman to the test, although his sci-fi technology may be too fantastical for this grounded take on the character. While Robin played a key role in the 1960s Batman series, his quirky attitude and catchphrases only served to add to the comedic campiness of the show. Joel Schumacher added the sidekick into his take on The Dark Knight and Batman Forever, but Schumacher's Batman films double down on the 60s style camp.
Holy rusted metal, Batman!
Huh?
Your ground. It's all metal. It's full of holes, you know? Holy!
A more grounded take on the character of Robin and how he'd work with Batman in a more real-world setting would be a fascinating narrative to dig into. The idea of Batman putting a young kid on the front lines against hardened criminals is already a difficult pill to swallow. With the exception of a small reference, Robin was a character Christopher Nolan basically ignored in his gritty Dark Knight trilogy. Matt Reeves could potentially crack the code and deliver a Robin that's believable as a crime fighter and engaging to watch on screen. One of the more fantastical characters in the Batman mythos, Clayface might find it hard to make a home in Matt Reeves' more realistic take on Batman. However, like Bane in The Dark Knight Rises, he doesn't have to exactly fit the mold of his comic book counterpart. Clayface is a supervillain dreamed up by original Batman creators Bill Finger and Bob Kane. There have been multiple versions of the characters, but the original is Basil Karlo, an actor who prides himself in his craft. In his most recent origin update, he uses a chemical makeup that ultimately transforms him into Clayface, a giant clay monster that can shapeshift into anything. He's a fascinating villain that really gained notoriety in Batman the Animated Series. Bringing the character into the live-action realm would be difficult and require a lot of special effects, but it'd be a fresh move for the latest Batman on the big screen. Batman has a reputation as a lone wolf, but he has no shortage of allies. With Catwoman and Batman going their separate ways in the final moments of the Batman, there's a void left behind. Aside from Robin, Batman works closely with Police Commissioner Jim Gordon in the comics, and also Jim's daughter Barbara, who eventually becomes Batgirl before being infamously shot in the spine and paralyzed by the Joker in The Killing Joke. After her injury, she begins operating as technical support for Batman under the alias Oracle. With the DC Comics refresh in 2011, however, the character received a surgical procedure that restored her ability to walk, and she was Batgirl once again. Batgirl is already getting her own film in the DCEU, with actor Leslie Grace donning the cape and cowl. It's likely then that Warner Brothers will want to avoid mass confusion by also introducing Batgirl into the world of the Batman. However, that doesn't mean we can't see Barbara Gordon enter the picture and potentially play the role of Oracle for Pattinson's Batman. For most of his existence, Mr. Freeze was a pretty forgettable Batman villain. That is, until a heart-rending episode of Batman the Animated Series titled Heart of Ice totally overhauled him into a tragic figure. Gone was the cheesy obsession with ice that made him a bit of a joke. Instead, Victor Freeze was given a tragic backstory and a motive for his villainous ambitions. His wife was dying. In an effort to find a cure for her condition, he cryogenically froze her, but a lab accident left him imprisoned in his cold suit. He developed weaponry to match his icy condition and typically only engaged in criminal behavior in an effort to further the research to save his wife. Arnold Schwarzenegger played the character in 1997's Batman and Robin, but it left much to be desired, reducing Mr. Freeze to a collection of puns.
All right, everyone, chill.
The world of Pattinson's Batman could be the exact setting needed to offer the character the emotional depth he deserves. Besides, sympathetic villains are some of the most interesting characters to follow. The brutal mercenary and assassin Slade Wilson is a fan favorite, whose most famous storylines involve contracts he takes to kill major superheroes. Of course, he's tangled with Batman on a number of occasions. Video game fans even had the opportunity to take control of Batman and fight Deathstroke in Batman Arkham Origins. In the game, the villainous mob boss Black Mask puts a bounty on Batman's head, and Deathstroke aims to collect. He's made a few minor appearances in the DCEU, played by Joe Manganiello, though who knows if that version will ever return. Making Batman a target in the Batman sequel could amp up the narrative's intensity as the Dark Knight attempts to keep his secret identity a secret. A narrative similar to Arkham Origins could be adopted as well, with Deathstroke as one of multiple assassins seeking a payday. Whatever the case, Deathstroke would be an intriguing addition to the world of Pattinson's Batman. There's more to Bruce Wayne than a lonely life avenging his deceased parents. Even Bruce had friends as a child, including a kid named Tommy Elliott. Tommy's father was abusive, and unfortunately, his mother only enabled his father's behavior. Tommy became filled with so much hate for his parents that he attempted to kill them by cutting the brakes on their car. He succeeded in killing his father, but Bruce's own father saved Tommy's mother. Enraged, Tommy grew up resenting Bruce and his family. As an adult, he adopted the identity of Hush and began a secretive campaign against Bruce. During the day, he was a successful and brilliant neurosurgeon as well as a plastic surgeon. At one point, he replaces his own face with one that looks just like Bruce Wayne's, so he can destroy Bruce's legacy. As Hush, he covers his face with bandages. He would make a great addition to the live-action mythos of the Batman. After all, the Riddler's documentation of Gotham's legacy of corruption did highlight Edward Elliot, confirming that the Elliot family is very much involved in this version of Gotham. Just as his name would suggest, Killer Croc has the appearance and likeness of a vicious humanoid crocodile. Because of the mutation that Waylon Jones was born with, he's been cast out of society. This has driven him to lead a life of hatred and cruelty toward others. In his own madness, he often comes to blows with Batman during his criminal endeavors. Croc eventually became a well-known gangster, frequently inflicting his unique brand of violence on others. Because of his condition and subsequent treatment, he leans into his perceived monstrosity by mauling and sometimes eating his foes. While Killer Croc might be a bit of a stretch for the world Matt Reeves has created, there's no telling what sort of new character arc the tortured Waylon Jones could have on camera. Of course, we've already seen one iteration of the character in Suicide Squad. Killer Croc only acted as muscle and had no real character depth or growth in that film. That could all change with a sequel to the Batman. Maybe Batman could dress up as him.
When Batman came nosing around, he was getting closer.
And?
I threw a rock at him.
Ever since 2008's The Dark Knight, fans have been itching to see Batman and the Joker go toe-to-toe again on the big screen. Yes, Jared Leto played the Joker in Suicide Squad and Zack Snyder's Justice League, and Joaquin Phoenix landed the role in a solo film all about the clown Prince of Crime's origins, even winning an Oscar for his trouble. But neither one of those Jokers directly squared off with Batman in a full movie. The Joker is perhaps Batman's most popular foe, and for good reason. There are many ways to interpret the character, and he's often highly unpredictable. The mystery behind what fuels his madness naturally creates intrigue. Truly establishing the character in the world of the Batman would take guts, as it'll unavoidably draw comparisons to Ledger's incredible Dark Knight performance. However, it's time that fans see Batman truly confront his greatest foe on screen again. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about the Batman are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.